All right, so we are live here on Thursday, what is it, October 6th, 2022 on the Quantum Lounge. And today we decided to record a little bit of a video for everybody regarding a subject that it doesn't matter who you are, you've experienced it in some form or another throughout your life, and that is death and dying. And, you know, a lot of us out there the past few years especially have been struggling with what happens after we die, whether or not we're religious or spiritual. It doesn't matter what our beliefs are. You know, it can be a traumatic thing to lose someone, especially we don't, you know, if we're not firm in our beliefs about what happens after death, or we don't have convictions about where people go. And, you know, it can be scary for not only our life, but for after death. So Jane, you were mentioning that you had a friend who's going through a tough time. Could you kind of go through that again?
Yeah, sure. So I met this friend of mine, and her dad recently passed away. She's very close to both her parents, and she's still grieving. She's going to a counselor to deal with grief. But she mentioned to me that she wishes, like she loves her dad, and she just wishes that there was some sign. Somehow she wants to know that her dad's okay and it's all okay. Even though she's grieving, she's writing this letter, and she understands that, but she doesn't feel like it's closed. She wants to know he's okay. And so she asked me, like, I wish I could get some form of a sign that he's okay. Because I said, you know, I think there's more to life than just us here. Like once we pass away, I believe that our consciousness moves on, and we're still conscious. But when she said, I need a sign, how can I find that sign? What can I do? I didn't know what to say. So I was wondering if you guys have something to say.
Well, I guess I know Mike had something to say, but Carl or Alan, do you guys want to jump in, or do you want to, we'll go to Mike first?
Mike.
Okay, Mike, take it away.
I had a similar situation, Jane, at one time when this this friend of mine, they were very concerned about the last, you know, confrontation with their brother. So this person's brother committed suicide, and just before he committed suicide, she was in an argument with her brother, and it didn't end well. And then I think it was the next day or something, he committed suicide, and she didn't get really the closures that she was hoping. But she went to see a medium, and the medium immediately had a pickup from the brother. The brother was wanting to communicate with this person, and right away that medium got a message saying something. And this person did not know about the argument at all. She didn't say anything, but that right away the brother came through and said, don't worry about that argument. That was not something that I'm holding a grudge about, and really the no hard feelings. I know I could feel the love, and I could feel that you're grieving, and I want you to just let you know that everything's okay over here. And he actually kind of let them know too that he was brought in, like, to this realm to have a short life, and he wasn't meant to stay here a long time. And there was lessons that he had to, you know, learn, and part of his suicide was to teach other people certain lessons too. So he had he had a certain time period, then he had, you know, a couple different exit opportunities, and that's what he took, and that was just part of the soul plan that he had right from the beginning. So it was kind of a reassuring message for this young lady, and so I think if you got a good medium that, you know, can confirm something that is very unique and maybe nobody else knows about, it can be very reassuring that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree, Mike. It's I feel very blessed. We're very blessed if we do feel very connected, because the greatest thing in the world, my feeling is to know you're connected to that essence, because we are eternal. And can we connect to that? Absolutely. I truly believe that. I've had a mystical experience in my life, and I've got two friends who are mediums, and so definitely, Jane, yeah, I would tell her to connect with one, I will give you the name of one, Jason Troy, because I know for a fact he's the real deal. Because I think in all lots of things, you get people who are in it for the money, but you do get the ones who are totally really connected. And Jason is, because I had an experience with Jason after my sister died, and he'd never met my sister, and he told me things that blew my mind. So absolutely, anyone who needs that confirmation that yes, there is life after death, and you do want to connect to a loved one, it gives you a lot of peace of mind and fills your heart up for sure.
What
I have
about
quite a few-
go
Go
on,
on,
go on, Alan.
well, I have quite a few things to say about it. One, I had two near
One you had to. So
One I had two near-death experiences. One when I was about 21 in a car accident, and something said, "Get out of the car," and I crawled out of the car, and then it blew up. And I found that people were gathered around my body, but I was looking from above. So that was the first experience. The second experience was probably about 15, no, not even 13 years ago. And again, I did not feel my body. I went someplace else, whether it was a tunnel or whatever, and there was light, and I saw my parents, I saw my in-laws, but you don't really see the physical form. It's more of a quality of the person. And it was a magical experience, but again, I was not in my body. And so I think that's the important lesson, perhaps, is that we are not our bodies, but we are our consciousness. And consciousness does go on. There is a connection between this world and the next. So those were my near-death experiences. But the important thing is we are alive. And it hurts so much when a loved one departs, somebody we know departs. However, we're still here. That's the important thing. So let's say you're visiting someone in the hospital. Do you cheer them on? Great, you're going to be dead soon. Hey, keep it up. No. We value life. And again, with your friend, remind her, if she wants to be with her father, then, let her take her own life. I'm being sarcastic or facetious, but, and then she'll realize, oh, I'm still alive. And the importance and the value, how precious life is. So maybe, we need to have that alternative, that duality, to really appreciate this gift that we have of life. And people don't think about it too often. They're absorbed with their problems. But how wonderful to still have life, to be able to walk around, to be able to dance, to be able to hug, to be able to kiss, to be able to...
Colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky. Sorry.
To be able to communicate with others. Obviously, I can't with him.
Hey.
So anyway, that's how I see it. And Rob, did you want to chime in?
Well, yeah, and so I don't consider myself psychic or anything like that. And I think we all have intuition and these moments where we experience things. The first time I experienced something that made me kind of, I was 12 years old, and it made me realize that there's more to life, and we're connected on a level that's much different. And my grandfather was in the hospital, and it was one morning before school, and it was just, whatever grade you are when you're 12, I think it was maybe grade 9 or 10. And I was getting ready in the basement, and I was doing my hair, looking in the mirror, and we heard a knock at the door, and we never had a knock at the door in the morning. Like, there was no reason for anybody to be there that early in the morning. And as soon as I heard the knock at the door, I stopped and I said, "Oh, Papa's gone. And I was like, that's a weird thing. And why did I say it out loud? I literally said it out loud. And that's just what I felt, or something said to me, you know, or I felt his spirit or something. And so then I go and I leave the bathroom and I walk through the house, and I go to the bottom of the stairs, and I'm kind of just listening to see like who the heck's here at this time in the morning, because nobody ever shows up. Um, and so it's my dad, and my dad comes in, and I was like, oh, I wonder why dad's here. He's never come here this early in the morning. And I hear him talking with my mom, and he says, yeah, I just came by to let you guys know that Pops just passed. And I was like, wow, that was incredible. Like the fact that I knew I had the premonition, and I like 12 years old, and I didn't even tell anybody that for years, because it was just, I didn't think much of it, or I didn't really like, it didn't affect me on the level of that, you know, it was, I didn't think that it was something significant at that time, right? And then I have a couple other stories, but ones that I'll tell you, I know I've told you guys how I always joke around about seeing custom license plates. And sometimes, I'm not saying that everyone sends me a message, but I was, when my father passed away, I went to see him one last time, and they let us, even though it was during COVID, they let us go in to see him the night before he passed. But he was not, you know, he wasn't very aware, and so he was sleeping most of the time. And then as I was, you know, so I didn't really get to talk to him and have a conversation with him. But you know, I just hoped it was beautiful, because I sat there and I read a letter to him that I wrote, and I played music for him and sang and stuff like that, and kind of bonded over music together. But then when a few weeks later, when I was driving north to go to his celebration of life, I was going down the 400 highway doing about 120, and I started thinking about him, and I started saying, for some reason, I just said, oh, Dad, I hope that you liked, you know, I hope that you were able to hear me, and the things that I said to you the last time that I saw you, because I know that you weren't awake, but I hope your spirit was able to hear what I had to say, and you realized that I was there. And I hope it was a good way to send you off. And then I started tearing up, and I looked this way out as I was driving. I looked this way, just so the people in the car wouldn't see that I was crying, right? And as I was going down the highway, I see a car coming this way, and the license plate said Bella on it, which means beautiful in Italian. And that was literally the answer to my question, because I was like, you know, was it a good, I hope, you know, I made you proud, and I hope it was a good last send off. And like, then I saw the license plate Bella at that exact moment, and I was like, there's no such thing as coincidence. And it's those little things that, you know, to some people that they would just say, oh, that's nothing. But to me, it was something, right? To me, that was a sign. And sometimes those, you know, it's not going to be like, it's those little signs that we have to pick up on, because is the person going to come back, you know, their spirit, and say, hey, I'm okay? Probably not. That's what faith is. That's what belief and knowing is to recognize those little synchronicities and those little signs, and to, those are the things that, for me at least, the way the connection with the other side speaks to us.
Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
I love what you said, Alan. I thought that was incredible. I never heard of anybody speak, you know, tell the person, like, do you want to like take away your own life to experience your father? I mean, that is, wow. I never thought about it, because we take life for granted.
And you know what the truth is? Like, my dad just passed away, not probably about a year and a half ago. Similar situation through COVID. You know, he was kind of at the point where he was kind of sleeping and wasting away, not eating towards the end. But you know, as soon as he passed, there was a change in our relationship. You know, we had a relationship where we kind of butted heads a lot. You know, he he always would like push me to, you know, maybe do something better, or maybe something the way he wanted. At one time, he wanted me, instead of being a chiropractor, he said, why don't you become a medical doctor, or do this, or do that, and, you know, like things like that. And, you know, not that he wasn't maybe proud of me, but he wanted to see him better, right? But I felt a much deeper understanding as soon as he passed away. We have a different communication now. I can kind of meditate and pick up on his energy now, and it's much more accepting and forgiving. So you don't have to, you know, die to go and connect with these people. You can start connecting with them on your own level, in your own way. So I recommend that's that's the way people go. And maybe, you know, a medium is a great way to start that type of communication,
Mhm.
because these people are talented in ways where they know that connection, and they've found it. Um, I was actually listening a couple, you know, another thing I would suggest is there's some people out there that have had some amazing stories. One of them is Anita Morjani, who wrote a book called Dying to Be Me. And now she goes around the world on stage talking about her story of dying and coming back to life. Um, there was another interesting guy that I was listening to. His son, he died New Year's Eve in a drowning accident, and now his son comes back to like visit him and give him messages. And this guy was like a railroad worker. He was like a real tough guy. Never believed in any of this stuff, but now he's got this connection with his son, and now he goes around helping other people that have had children. Like basically helps families where they've lost a child at an early age or something. So people are open to these communications, and they start connecting, and they start realizing, okay, that is the energy of my past, son or my brother or my dad or whatever. So I think we all can tap into that too.
Two of you mentioned COVID. People were so afraid of dying, they forgot to live and to appreciate life. And the other thing that comes to mind is born again. Well, you can die and be born again while you're still alive, while you're still informed, by changing your consciousness. Mike is a chiropractor, and the name of his office is The Awakened Life. And it is a change in consciousness, not to be absorbed by all the distractions, all the programming, all the externals, but instead of being controlled by your mind, you transcend that and become born again, become aware again of what is really going on and appreciating life. So
Yeah,
that's what I'd say.
yeah, absolutely. From a young age, I've seen a lot of death and went to a lot of funerals with family members. And from a young lad, growing up in England, that I just knew from a very young age how precious life was. And I've always lived my life to the fullest. I really have a living every moment because it really is so precious. But if you've never lost anyone that you love dearly, and I lost my dad, I lost my sister, who I was extremely, extremely close to. And the first week I was devastated. But then the second week I had an experience like you, Mike. I connected to her I really connected, because while she was alive, she had a shift in consciousness, and she wanted the old Carl back, which of course would never happen. And we sort of disconnected in a way on that spiritual level. But I connected more to her after she'd passed. And it's said before, such a blessing to know the essence of who we are, that there's no such thing as death. It's just a moving on to another realm. And it's beautiful to know that.
Yeah, and I think to what Alan said is that so many people were so concerned with death and so afraid of it and so conditioned and programmed, and whatever the case may be. There's cultures that believe, that celebrate, and that's why we had a celebration of life for my father, because not that we're like, but we're just, growing up predominantly Catholic and United and Protestant and things like that. Like, people are so used to funerals, and I just find those things so somber and just very negative. So we had a celebration of life, and we passed the microphone around to tell stories about how my father had affected people and their lives and things like that. And I think it's important, like Alan said, that it's important to realize that this life we have right now is all that we know. So act as if that if there is something else, then great. But if not, then you made the best of this one. And there's lots of literature out there to say that we're just light energy beings operating this physical vessel through light energy at a specific frequency, and that when we leave this body, it's just we no longer have the life force energy to operate at this density. And so I was reading something, one of the Saint Germain books, and he said in that one that he said, it's a huge honor to be a human, even though it's tough being at this dense of a vibration. But it's the only place, that Earth is the only planet in the universe that has this this dense of a manifestation, that there's that much density. So it's a very unique place, and sure, it's tough, and and even though sometimes it's very difficult, it's actually quite beautiful. And so we have to learn how to appreciate how to live and not worry so much about death, because if you've had a good life, what's dying? It's and another part that they said in that book, they said that when you die, you'll find it's just like taking off an old coat. You're just changing forms, right? Like this body that we live in, it's not us. It's just a physical communication or vehicle that we use to express here in this dense vibratory field that we call Earth, right?
So there's our message to everyone: live life to the fullest, and there's no such thing as death.
Exactly. There's just going on to a different frequency, right? I was actually, I was just before we started our call, I was listening to David Icke. I think it was the thing that you guys sent, Jane, the same one with the London Real guy, but he was talking about that's what it is. It's the enslavement by perception of this frequency, and it keeps us trapped in this frequency. And that, people think that this frequency, that all they can see with their eyes, this spectrum, is that all that there is, but there's so much more. If you look at the frequency of the light spectrum, we can just see a very narrow range of that. So there's so much going on around us that we're not even aware of, right?
Yeah, be aware and live an awakened life, everybody.
Jane, any last parting words?
No, that's good. Thank you guys for sharing. That was interesting. I appreciate all your perspectives.
Thank you.
And I will contact those mediums. Maybe I'll talk to her about, because not everybody knows how to connect, right? They're still, they think it's just flesh and blood, mother, father, brother, daughter, this is it. And they've not experienced maybe something else other than religion. So yeah, I will probably connect her with one of the mediums if she's open to it. And maybe that'll bring up awareness for her that there is more than just this life here. It's life after passing.
Life after life.
Life is life.
Right.
Bye.
Take care, guys.
All right, take care.
I love my life.